So, folks, for today's show, we're going to be talking about that new title that Impact just announced. Our thoughts about the design, our thoughts about potentially the future of it, and all other sorts of things with it. So, let's jump into this week's, as we are finally back. But this week's hot topic coming out of Impact Wrestling this week. Hey, what's up, everybody? Nigeria Miranda here, Miranda of thechairshot.com. We're here to bring you our discussion, debate, whatever it may be, whatever it may turn into, coming out of Impact Wrestling, our hot topic of the week. And we're pretty settled on this one. And we both coming out of this week, we'll be talking about that new title that was announced. I saw rumors about it, but I saw the rumors not too far before I actually saw the news break. So it wasn't like
quick turnaround time.
Exactly. It wasn't like it was something coming down the pipeline that we were anticipating, but it was like, really? And then it was like, oh, okay, I guess.
And here it is.
Here it is, the Digital Media Championship. So there's not a lot of information about it, but there is a press release, and then there was a promo package with it. So we're going to read through that, and we're going to, again, give our assessments of what do we think the future of and is with this title. Who would we like to see be crowned as the inaugural champion? And, all the sorts of reactions. But yes, if this is your first time checking us out, this is where we like to come together weekly to talk about that one hot topic coming out of the Impact Zone, out of Impact Wrestling. This week happens to be their new championship. And, we're going to have more stuff as we get closer to Bound for Glory, which is going to be, what's Bound for Glory? October 23rd.
October 23rd, yes.
Saturday.
In Las Vegas, Nevada.
In Las Vegas, Nevada. Sin City. Especially a lot of sin happens in Old Town, Vegas. Just if you didn't know, And this is going to be a Sam's Town live. I'm
happening. Yes, no.
But let me read over the press release first, so we can kind of set the table here a little bit. So Impact Wrestling will inaugurate a brand new championship, the Digital Media Championship, at Countdown to Glory, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, October 23rd, originating from Sam's Town Live in Las Vegas. The first ever champion will be crowned in a 6-way match during Countdown for Glory, a live pre-game show that will stream across all digital platforms immediately before the beginning of Impact event of the biggest Impact event of the year, Bound for Glory 2021. So Scott D'Amore had to say, in the final tradition of iconic television titles to pro wrestling history, Impact Wrestling will add a 4th singles championship, October 23rd. The inaugural Digital Media Champion will be crowned in a 6-way match with the winner making history. Those 6 competitors will have to fight for the opportunity to become the first ever Digital Media Champion. Then he added 12 contenders drawn from both the knockouts and male rosters will compete in a 6 single elimination match over the next 3 weeks. The winner of those matches will be the final 6 to go on before. Okay, I get that now.
Yes,
Finally.
yeah. So essentially, it looks like 3 men and 3 women would be in that 6-way at Countdown for Glory to compete for the digital media championship.
Yeah. Yeah. So the winner of those matches will be the final 6 to go on before the Glory and the Digital Media Championship 6-way. So
We just need like an interpreter for this. Like it's definitely a convoluted type of explanation of who's considered, and maybe that's their way of keeping it very open ended. But it is interesting that it's almost not buries the headline, but one of the bigger things that I think is coming out of this is that they are going to draw from the knockouts division and the men's division, and there's going to be an equal amount of competitors of men and women in this 6-way opportunity for the digital media championship.
yeah, I like firmly agree with you. First of all, I mean, I know I haven't had my lunch yet, but like, I
Yeah.
definitely was like confused, like with all the squiggly anime eyes,
Yes,
like what is
yes.
being
It
said
was.
right
It's
now?
not. Oh, what does this mean? This is. You don't want, when you look at Impact Championship history, you look at some titles that have come and gone, and you think of it and wanting to see like what is the purpose of this championship, how does it fill in a gap with what is not there. This
Yeah.
particular press release doesn't necessarily do much in explaining that. Hopefully we'll get more information in the weeks to come, but I do think that one of the biggest draws to this, and I wish maybe they could reiterate this a little differently in the future, is that this is going to be an intergender title, that men and women will be able to compete for this, which is huge for national televised wrestling companies. You do not have that really much at all in any other promotion. And one thing that we've talked about with Impact that really helps them stand out is the emphasis, not that they do it all the time, but the fact that they don't shy away from intergender wrestling.
Yeah, you're right on the money with that. That's the most intriguing thing to me is that
Mm-hmm.
anybody can hold the championship. The structure of how who's going to win it first, it's essentially the Hunger Games to me. It's
Right.
like
But that's also, that would be kind of, again, if the emphasis when you think about this is digital media, if the focus is that this is going to be defended in maybe more digital settings or social media settings, when you think about analogies, the Hunger Games, something that is televised for people to watch, the Hunger Games is kind of a good analogy for it.
yeah, right. I mean, so okay, so let's look at the design a little bit here, and
Mhm.
we'll give our thoughts about this. Let me move our overlay real fast. What do you think?
I mean, you have to really look at the detail in it to kind of understand it. You see, digital media champion. The background for it is much more of a digital background, more of like a
Mm-hmm.
CPU, which if you don't look at it carefully, you could miss. I'm not sure how I feel about kind of the kind of bumps around it. I wish it was much more of a cleaner cut. If you're looking at something that's, when you think of technology and you think of media, you think more sharper lines. That's just me being nitpicky, but I do like kind of the ode to technology and digital media in that background of kind of that CPU layout
Yeah.
of it. But it's I think it's going to take some time for me to get used to.
Yeah, so first of all, I will say that I feel like the Impact World Heavyweight Championship is my favorite belt in pro
Yeah.
wrestling. Outside of like the WWE UK Championship, which
Mm-hmm.
is those are my favorite too. This belt, I think I totally agree. I love Impact's logo. That's another thing. I love the color usage of it. But if you remove that, it looks like the AEW Championship to me.
Right.
It
Yes, there's a
definitely,
lot of similarities to that, and I think it is because of the shape of the plates that make
yeah.
it feel very similar to AEW's
Yeah, I'm
championship
looking at
belts.
it. I'm definitely looking at it. The plates are right. they're like I'll say like 91% the same. It looks like, and you know how it is. It's a trendy world, so they're probably like, yeah, we'll make a belt like that, whatever it may be. It does look like that. So like, I like the AEW belt. I'm not in love with it, so I'm the same way with this. Since it's so similar, it's like I like this, but I'm not in love with it.
Yeah,
And
like I said, I think if they were really going with the digital media or technology theme, having cleaner, outlines of the plates would actually be more in alignment with, what you envision with technology. So that is kind of a very interesting decision that they made with the design. It's kind of like they went half in with having that background of the kind of, the CPU looking, lines and things like that. But then they're like, hey, let's add these, kind of bumps to the plates that, hey, make you think of the AEW championship.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So let's so we gave our assessments how we thought we looked. We went over the announcement of whatever it is just trying to say.
Yes.
But yeah, you did touch on this a little bit, so that it is going to be intergender as it appears. That would have automatically been a want for me. But since you're going digital media, then I need it to really live up to its name. Therefore, when you talk about digital media, we're talking about social media. We're talking about streaming services. We're talking about YouTube and all this other stuff, which in this case highlights Impact Plus, which is on, their website, and the Impact Wrestler Ultimate Insiders, which is their YouTube stuff as well. All the same, but we all understand that this means that these are what's the word? These are the exclusive content of Impact Wrestling, where you only can watch on Impact Wrestling's platforms. Therefore, this seems that this is going to be a pivot to when we don't have to have a pay-per-view where our heavyweight championship is defended, but this one always will. So if that's the case, if that's the case, you want to build this around somebody you truly believe in. And I'm talking about, you have to be somewhere on the same hemisphere as Josh Alexander right now, because when you talk about the amount of trust that they have on him, who I feel should be your next champion soon, you want somebody else that's going to be able to represent it in a fashion of what he is. And like, when I think about stuff like that, I mean, it to me, this always goes back to Ace Austin. It's just like the person that that they have a lot of confidence in, who really needs something right now. Because I easily can say Chris Bay, but I'm like, Chris Bay is definitely in a good storyline. And because he's working in tandems with a stable, then it necessarily doesn't really need that championship, because this needs to be one that because it's new and it's introduced, it's like, who needs this more instead of already having a storyline and this being just a plaque on the mantle? You know what I mean? Yeah. So when I think about Ace Austin and what's happening right now with Christian and Josh, which that's the two. So that with them two going forward, then you leave two people in the sense of him and Madman Fulton of what can we do next. So I think Ace Austin, I think Trey Miguel.
Trey Miguel was one that popped up in my head as far as viral videos and viral content.
But you know what? That's why I saw a lot of people saying this is Matt Cardona's to lose.
Well, yes, so my perspective is a little bit different as far as they may be looking at who has some of the biggest social media presence or could have the biggest social media presence. Now, I think automatically, yes, a lot of people thought about Matt Cardona when they thought of this because, of his internet championship. But my spin on this is, when you think of social media presence in all of the company, you're going to want to actually look at the Knockouts division. Because they have a huge social media presence, and some names, maybe not Matt Cardona, but a Chelsea Green, or Jordan Grace, or Tennille Dashwood. I mean, those are three of the most popular wrestlers in all of the internet. And
Yeah.
their presence could really make waves with this digital media championship. I mean, Tennille Dashwood's whole persona is about how popular she is on social media.
True.
And
Give it to
every,
Caleb. This, give it to Caleb right
so yeah,
now.
so that was my spin on this. And also think about how groundbreaking it would be when you introduce a new title and the first person to win it is a woman. You know, if you're really talking about social media presence and digital media presence, that in and of itself could make waves. So I totally agree with your initial evaluation about wanting to put it on someone who the company believes in and is strong. But you got to also think about it. If it's a digital media title, there's going to be other implications about it that are going to weigh heavy as to, who competes for it and who ultimately wins it.
Let's think bigger here. I absolutely agree. I mean, I definitely would not give this to a male because I want it to feel like an intergender championship.
Mm-hmm.
And thus saying that, oh, that's a major championship on a woman, it's just like, okay, cool. Now this obviously it states that both male and female get. I mean, that's sort of what it felt like to me when Tessa was the champion. When it was kind of like they did something historic. I get it, but it also indicates that there's a beacon on her that anybody can get it. The
Yes,
X
anybody.
Division doesn't really give you that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But this, if that's what you're going to do, then that's the route I would go. But for all the things that you said, there's one other thing that I would add to this.
Okay.
You also want somebody who is super active on the indies because you want this championship to be able to be defended wherever they go.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that independent wrestling happens to end up being shown on the internet, not
Mm-hmm.
television.
Correct.
Which means that it follows the identity of what this wants to be. So I would love to be able to put this on somebody that can carry this on where they go. And all the Impact wrestlers, most of them, we'll say about 80% of them still work the indies, one way or another.
Yeah, some
But
capacity.
you got somebody like Matt Cardona who is super active with GCW. You have Chelsea Green who is working
Mm-hmm.
every promotion who's willing to open up the book,
Yeah.
the checkbook. And Jordan works some. Jordan also works intergender, which is another qualification here again. And matter of fact, we can actually kind of narrow this down a little bit here.
Yeah, as far as who we think may be the six that are going to compete. Another interesting thing that you brought up too, a storyline that we've already been kind of seeing that could feed into this is Matt and Chelsea who have been facing Rohit Raju, and so I feel like that storyline could carry into this because I feel like that's been a little bit of a teaser already, and I think he would make a great champion as well.
I love Rohit.
Rohit has an amazing presence on him, not only just on television, but on social media. He's very active as well. And
Yeah.
again, that's a storyline that you may be able to feed into this. So that way, too, you're not just having this one-off, you kind of weave in existing stories into this.
Yeah, I love Rohit. So, any given day that you want to give me a compelling story as why he should win, I'm behind it. But
It's
yeah,
just hard to argue.
yeah, and also, I mean, like, if we had more time, because obviously this takes a little bit of like science to this or analytics,
Yes.
should I say? All we gotta do is look at the card and say, well, who's not on Bound for Glory? Who doesn't have a match?
Yeah.
Cool. Take them, put them in a pile, and say, out of these people, who of the women especially who works intergender, cool, narrow that down. And that's the thing, everybody doesn't work intergender. I know I believe it was Kiera Hogan who said that they'll offer anybody it, but it's your decision if you want to do it or not. And so we know that there's people. By the way, if you want to know exactly who those people are, then you could also look at the women who are on the PWI 500 because they work intergender. So Jordan Grace is definitely one. I can't even remember who else is on that list. Is Kimberly?
I don't know if she was on that
I know
list,
she
but
does, but
yeah, she has, yeah.
Yeah, so there's possibilities. There's absolutely possibilities, and it could be interesting. It's not something that I asked for here with the championship. It's not something on my personal wish list, but this could be intriguing. And if this is their fourth title, championship. Hopefully that they, with adding more original content to Impact Plus or Impact Insiders program, whatever it is, Ultimate Insiders, it is a good thing that you do have something to look forward to, and that seems to be this, because if you're going to continue to keep the open door thing going on here, and Christian is here all the time, that's not a question. But who's to say somebody else may not come through that door and may also be one of those Kenny Omega people where they're just like, I'm here when I'm here, and I'm not when I'm not.
Well,
and it's not to say he wasn't there, but it's to say that the focus of him defending that championship wasn't the focus at hand.
Yes. Well, and this sets up, like you talked about too, maybe just very exclusive one-offs. Like, you don't need to, have these established storylines and long-term storytelling with this, as you've mentioned. If this is defended on the independent scene, you just need one-off matches. You could really set up some great dream matches just one time with this belt. And I think that too can be a way to keep that door open of, suspense. Who's it going to be next? A constant line of competitors. So that way it keeps things fresh. And again, as we mentioned, kind of that intergender aspect of it, it really leaves the door open for anybody. So there can definitely be some great positives to this that makes it one of the most unique titles in all of pro wrestling.
Yeah. Any other speculations to this? Anything else that kind of gets intriguing with this?
I think it'll be interesting to see if there's any other types of stipulations or special things. As you've talked about, it kind of alludes to, when it's going to be defended. We don't exactly know what the circumstances, if it follows, say, it's interesting to see that back in, the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s, the television championship was that championship that you would expect to be on TV all of the time. Now, this is the new iteration of that. It is, the digital media championship. So it is a sign of evolution. But, also is what kind of stipulations, what are going to be the things that, may have to happen in order for this title to be defended. And ultimately, too, how are they going to get people interested in this outside of just, who is crowned too? All these other things, as far as, all of these aspects of it that make it very interesting and rare, work to its advantage. But it's also theirs to lose, in the sense that, if they don't have kind of compelling stories or matches, or if people aren't following it on social media, I think what you really need to do is have the matches themselves be so outstanding, people are going to want to find it online. A lot of times, if it's not coming to them, they're not going to look for it. You want these matches to be so outstanding and entertaining that people go hunt for it.
Yeah, let me read the rest of this, because I just glanced over at it, and there's some verbiage to kind of pat towards this. So it says the Elimination Matchups will stream Tuesday and Wednesdays on Impact's own digital subscription network, Impact Plus, and for the Impact Ultimate Insiders on the promotional popular YouTube page. After 24 hours, the matches will be made available for everybody across Impact's digital universe, including YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Impact Wrestling is an innovator in the digital space, got the more ads, pointing out that Impact wildly successful Facebook strategy is the subject of an upcoming best practices report to be published by social media giant. It is fitting to recognize the huge audience Impact has online. After the first championship is crowned, the Digital Media Championship will be defended on Impact's digital platforms in exclusive matches, as well as on television monthly, Impact Plus specials, pay-per-views that takes place on the most coveted titles in our sport. So, even reading that, it's not saying something we don't suspect. You got a new belt, it's going to be defended on your shows. That's all it's saying. And I do think that the strategy of this needs to be, and even if it's saying it, but it needs to feel, because it doesn't feel like that to me. It needs to feel exclusive. I need it to be to an extent that, like when you see this match, it has like a 60-minute time limit. It has real big match feel to it. You know, you want it to be, I mean, hell, let people get involved with this match. You know what I mean? Let people vote people to get into these matches. Like, hey, we want this person to face this person. And I mean, truly anybody. Give us a roster of 5 people, whether it's Impact or the Independents, maybe the Forbidden Door, whoever it may be. Let people feel like this is a big thing. You want to talk about being, and you're talking about digital media, then you want the digital audience to also feel like they're invested and involved in this. So instead of it just feeling like another championship that's just available wherever and it's just released in tiers, I wanted to actually feel like something unique in the sense of something we're not seeing right now. Because if you didn't know no better, it's the television title. Just don't lie.
Yeah, no, it is the new age of specialty belts. This is, the second coming of the television title. It is now in a digital setting. This is how people, get access to matches all over the world. And this is how a lot of content is streamed and shared, is online. So I think it's a progressive idea. I think it's one that's, creative. And ultimately, as we talked about, it's going to be up to them to really get people to want to watch it and see it, because of the fact that there is so much available online already. How do you differentiate yourself? And I think it's not just, who's competing. It's the quality and level of the matches. I think that too may be kind of underrated in this, but you're going to have some banger matches for people to want to be like, man, I have to watch that digital media championship match. I want to, and how do you do it? You can only get it through these methods. So I think that there's going to be kind of an underspoken quality or level of wrestling that really has to happen in these matches for people to want to watch them.
It's an uphill battle for them. I mean, you already had the Before the Impact, which, you put big matches on there because you want people to be invested into that. And that's slowly been coming around. I mean, that has turned into something that a lot of people realize is must watch, especially with the idea that matches from there can bleed into Impact, which is a tactic that got you invested into it. I know people are automatically invested in titles because titles are walking storylines, and they also give a level of notoriety to somebody who probably doesn't have anything going on. But I think the fact that you are framing this around it being the digital media championship, then it's just like, well, cool. Yeah. Live up to that. How are we going to live up to that? Are we going to see matches on TikTok? No, probably not. But if you're going to have it on YouTube, and obviously you'll have it behind the paywall, I mean, you can even do that as well too. Yeah. Doing these matches, put live comments up. I mean, I obviously don't know about like the infrastructure to do such if it's pre-recorded or live, but I think it needs to feel different instead of it just being an television title, the U.S. Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the TNT Championship. How does this set apart? Unless this is just that, and the name is just a ploy.
Who knows? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
You got any comments on this? Any other comments?
No, I think we said everything we can with the information that we know.
Right or. Okay, then that means we'll wrap up the show for the night, for the day there. So folks, let us know your thoughts about this digital media championship. Who should win the tournament? Who should win the Hunger Games is the better question.
Right? Here. Who should be in it? Who should win it? How should it be defended? Who would you like to see,
who steps up to volunteers tribute? You need to know these things. It's gonna be an uphill battle with this one, but we'll see how it is. We'll give it a chance, and it's exciting because that means that obviously somebody gets a championship opportunity, and that's always good. And I'm definitely liking that Rohit juice that you were pouring.
Oh yeah, always. Again, this is fun. This is fantasy booking at it's one of its funnest levels to do this. So that too, if it can help make wrestling fun, that is always a plus.
You're right on. All right, folks. Well, yes, that'll do it for this week. We'll catch you all each and every Friday with our weekly Impact Wrestling Hot Topic. Peace out, y'all.
Bye-bye.